Have you ever sat down at a poker table and felt off? Not sick, not tired, just heavy. Like every decision costs more than it should. Like you're playing not to lose instead of playing to win. Most players blame the cards, bad runs, cold decks, just one of those nights. But here's what's actually happening. You're scared and you don't even know it. Not shaking at the table scared. The kind of fear that hides inside your decisions and wears a disguise. It feels like caution. It feels like discipline. It feels like you're being smart, careful, and responsible. But it's not any of those things. It's fear, pure, unadulterated fear. And it's quietly destroying your game hand by hand, session after session. This is Vinton Poker, precision in, profits out. And today we're talking about the hidden cost of being underrolled. Almost every time I see this cautionary behavior in a player, it traces back to one thing: their bankroll. Their bankroll is wrong for the game that they're sitting in. That's it. Almost always, that's the problem. And once you understand what that actually does to you at the table, you're never going to look at bankroll management the same way again. Because when most players hear bankroll management, they check out immediately. They think it's a math conversation. Keep enough buy-ins, don't go broke, got it, next topic. But it's not a math conversation. The math is just the surface. Underneath it all, bankroll management is about one thing and one thing only: creating the conditions where you can make correct decisions without fear getting in the way. When your bankroll is right, you play freely. When it's wrong, you play scared, and scared money doesn't win. It's a losing horse. Here's exactly what I mean. Let's say you have $1,000 and you sit down at a 1-3 game with a $500 buy-in. You can technically afford it. No problem sitting down. But that 500 bucks is half of everything you have in life. One bad night, one cooler, one session where nothing connects, and you've lost half your bankroll. Now you come back the next night with the $500 that you have left. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you know that one more buy-in is all that you have left. That knowledge is sitting with you at the table, whether you want it or not, and it weighs heavy. And that's when your game starts to fall apart, because scared money doesn't announce itself. It doesn't tap you on the shoulder and says you're playing out of fear right now. It gives you reasons that sound completely logical in the moment. Things like, I shouldn't bluff here, it's too risky. Or, I can't raise. What if he three bets me and I have to fold? Or, I'll just call and keep the pot small. None of that sounds like fear. It sounds like caution, but it's not caution. It's self-preservation dressed up as strategy. And self-preservation is not a winning mindset at the poker table. And here, that looks like in a real hand. It makes you passive when you should be attacking. You have a hand that's clearly ahead of their range. You know it. But instead of betting with confidence, you size down and you check back, because the emotional cost of being wrong is way too high right now. You leave money on the table, not because you don't know better, but because you can't afford to be wrong. It kills your thin value bets. Top pair, good kicker, and an opponent who will call with any worst hand all day long. And you check back the river because you're afraid of a raise that was probably coming anyway. Money left on the table, session after session. It shuts down your bluffing. Underrolled players almost never fire a well-timed bluff because the chips feel too precious to risk. So the regulars at your table figure you out very fast. You only bet big when you have it. Now you're readable. Now you're predictable. Now your big hands stop getting paid because everybody sees through you and believes you. You are playing face up. And here's the one thing that surprises people. Scared money doesn't always make you too tight. Sometimes it makes you call way too much and way too thin. You can't stand the thought of someone running a bluff and getting away with it. So your ego and your fear mix together, and you make a call you know in your gut isn't right to make, just to preserve whatever is left from your stack. Sunk cost fallacy, at its finest. Every single one of these leaks are happening not because you lack skills. They're happening because when the money on the table feels dangerous to lose and too precious to risk, even when the numbers and the game scream, this is a great spot or this is a clear fold, correct decisions start to feel impossible to make. That is the trap. That's the leak. And most players never find it because they spend all their time looking for leaks in their game when the leak is actually in their bankroll. Now let's flip it around. A properly rolled player loses 2 buy-ins in a session. Something shifts emotionally. Of course it does. We're all human. But their strategy doesn't change. Their reads don't fall apart. They observe the loss and keep executing the same way if they would as if they were 2 buy-ins up, because their bankroll was built to handle exactly these situations. That's not merely mental toughness. That's what a proper bankroll structure produces on its own. It insulates your judgment. It removes the financial weight from every individual decision. It lets you play the hand right in front of you instead of playing your stack. I call it the fortress. Your bankroll is not just money you use to buy into games. It's armor. It's what stands between your decisions and the chaos of variance. And when you're inside that fortress, you play like someone who isn't afraid of losing. It's not that you don't care, it's because a loss, even a painful one, doesn't threaten your survival. Folds that need to be made get made. Bluffs that need to be fired get fired. Thin value bets going on the river because getting raised isn't the end of the world. You play your best poker for 8 hours straight because you're not running on anxiety the entire time. That freedom is the most underrated edge in this game. And most players have never felt it because they've never been properly rolled. So, what does that fortress actually require? If poker is not your income and you play on the side, you want a minimum of 20 to 30 buy-ins for the game that you're playing in. At 1-2 with a $300 buy-in, it means at least $6,000 in your poker bankroll. Safer is $9,000. I know that sounds like a lot, but the alternative is staying underrolled, staying scared, and wondering for years why your results never match what you know your game is capable of. If you play regularly and this is a serious income for you, 40 to 50 binds is the size of the fortress you need to feel indifferent to the money. That cushion can absorb the brutal run of variance without touching your mindset. And if poker pays your actual bills, you need 75 to 100 buy-ins, minimum. Plus your living expenses kept completely separate. No mixing ever. The moment poker money and life money share the same account, every pot has your rent money in it. Every losing session becomes a personal crisis. You stop playing poker and you start playing survival. And survival poker is losing poker. Now let's talk about variance, because most players think they understand it and almost none of them do. Variance is not bad luck. It's not the universe paying you back for something you did in the past. It's a mathematical reality that is permanently built into this game, and it applies to everyone at the table. Winning players, losing players, it doesn't matter. You can play every single hand correctly and get your money in good over and over again, make the right decisions every time, and still lose for weeks. This is just poker. Aces get cracked, sets get over sets, flushes run into boats. You can get your money in as an 80% favorite and lose 5 times in a row. That's completely normal. That's within the range of what this game produces on regular basis. The problem isn't variance. The problem is most players have no cushion to absorb it. So when it hits, and it will hit, it doesn't just hurt the bankroll. It gets inside your head. 3 buy-ins down in one session, and it starts to feel catastrophic. And when something feels catastrophic, rational thinking disappears. Before we go on, if you're getting value from this video, give it a like and share it with someone else who's also serious about becoming a crusher just like you. Your support helps this channel grow, and it means the world to me. Also, don't forget to share your thoughts and questions with me in the comments below as I read them all, and it keeps me motivated and encouraged to continue creating content that will seriously level up your game. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any future episodes. Getting back to variance. Variance is the price of admission to a game where skill eventually wins. It's not your enemy. It's actually your ally, because it's the exact reason losing players keep coming back to the tables. They keep getting short-term results that convinces them they can beat this game. Variance keeps the fish in the water. But to benefit from that, you have to survive long enough for your edge to actually show up. It doesn't show up in 20 hands. It doesn't show up in 20 sessions. It shows up over thousands of hands played correctly with a bankroll underneath you that can handle the swings. Which brings me to risk of ruin. Most players have heard of risk of ruin. Very few have actually sat with it and understand what it means. Risk of ruin is the probability that your bankroll reaches zero before your edge has time to show up. Let me say that again because it's critical to understand. Risk of ruin is the probability that your bankroll reaches zero before your edge has time to show up. Even legitimate players can go broke, not because they play badly, but simply because their bankroll was too small for variance for the game that they were playing in. Think about a coin that lands heads 65% of the times. That's a real edge. Over thousands of flips, you're going to profit, no question. But over 5 flips, you can easily lose. Short-term results are chaotic even when the long-term outcome favors you. Poker is the same thing. Players who go broke in this game aren't always the worst players at the table. Sometimes they're decent players with a genuine edge who just didn't respect the mathematics of variance. They ran out of bankroll before the sample size got big enough to show what they were actually worth and capable of. Don't let that be you. And then there is ego, the thing that kills more bankrolls than any bad play ever could. Specifically, the ego that refuses to move down in stakes when the bankroll says you must. Your roll takes a hit. The math says drop down and rebuild, and you refuse because moving down feels like admitting something's wrong, like you're not as good as you thought you were, like you're too good to play lower stakes, like shame amongst your peers, like failure. But here's what moving down actually is. It's the professional move. It's what every serious long-term player does without drama when the situation calls for it. Bankroll says move down, they rebuild, and then they move back up. That's the cycle, and it works every time without exception. The players who refuse to move down because they're too good for 1-2 are the ones who bust their bankroll trying to prove something to the table that doesn't give a shit. The 1-2 game has no idea what you think of yourself. Variance has no idea how you feel inside and what other people think about you. The money just moves to whoever's playing the right game for their bankroll at the moment in the right way. Check that ego because it's costing you real money. Before your next session, I want you to do one thing. Write down your total bankroll, the real number, not what's in your pocket tonight. The full amount that you have set aside specifically dedicated for poker. Divide that number by your normal buy-in. That's how many buy-ins you have. Now measure it against what I just told you. And then ask yourself honestly, if you lost 3 buy-ins tonight, what would that feel like? Not theoretically, actually feel it for a second. Would it create panic? Would it change how you approach the game next week? Would it start bleeding into the rest of your financial life? If the answer to any of that is yes, your bankroll is too thin for the game that you're playing in. Not for your skill level, for your emotional tolerance. And at poker, those two are the same thing. That one realization can change your entire career, because once you see it clearly, you stop chasing sessions. You stop trying to make it all back in one night. You stop letting fear make decisions that should be made with logic. You build the fortress, you sit inside it, and you finally play the poker you are actually capable of playing. If you want help building that structure for your exact situation, your specific stakes, wherever you are right now, I'm offering a free coaching session while the spots are still available. You can sign up by messaging me directly on WhatsApp. The link is in the description below. We'll go through your specific situation and address your specific needs. You can ask me anything you need help with within your game. We'll find exactly what's costing you big, and we'll put a plan together to fix it step by step. The link is in the description below. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Let's get crushing.